All right, this is a tutorial on the laser engraving of the wood block. What in the world is the wood block laser engraving, you might ask? Well, let's take a look and see what we've got. We know that we can laser engrave on paper. We've probably done that in the past, but we can also do it on wood, and this will tie into some of the projects we do later on. So you are going to be given um, some sizes to choose from, and you're going to just simply find a logo, um, add some text, and engrave something on there. And you can, maybe you'll take this home and it'll be a coaster for all I know. Let's start by looking at some of the sizes that we have to choose from. So you are given one of two options. You are either going to be given a 4x6, kind of like a note card size, and you can have that in a landscape or a portrait orientation, or you can have a square 4x4. So either one of those, you decide. It really might depend on what sort of logo you are wanting to engrave. You need to choose a logo or an image, and you need to add text. Those are the two requirements. So let's take a look here. I've got a few other things here we can look at. This is how those images started from CorelDRAW. So one of them was the Binary Battalion logo. Notice how that is a nice, bold, dark colored, like there's distinct blue, yellow, and black colors. And the loon is also very distinct colors. And with the loon, I knew that I needed a landscape direction or orientation. Um, like I said, it really is going to depend on the, the the image you have in mind to engrave. And I added some text onto the loon to fill in some of the space. A little preview here of how did we get from those images. What kind of work do we need to do in CorelDRAW? Let's just go ahead here, and this is another option that we're going to be allowing you to do. You could laser engrave something and seal it and be done with it. But it's also nice to add some color to engravings. And so I want you to be able to either do both. So you've gone through that experience. So keep that in mind. We'll be adding some color to your wood block. And the last slide here before we get started, this is sort of the flow chart of how that happens. We have to develop it in CorelDRAW. We engrave it, and it would be looking like the top right corner. We basically paint over the engraving. And lastly, we sand off the paint that's not embedded into what got engraved. And sometimes it turns out really great, and sometimes we wish it would have turned out a little better, but it's going to be an experience for you to do that. So let's go ahead and let's start by going over to CorelDRAW. I'm going to start with the loon. Just like the name card activity that we finished, one of the first things that you need to do is start a workspace that is 32 by 18. Again, you need to start with the size of the laser bed, 32 inches wide by 18 inches tall. And after that's been set up, we are going to zero out the top left corner. So that is Try to get that as close as we can. There we go. All right, we've got our 0, 0 point. And then using these grid lines, we're going to make the size of the wood block. In this case, it is 6. Make that exactly 6 by, this would be a -4. Now, maybe you want it to be portrait, maybe you want it square. At this point, that's up for you to decide. Now, this is almost a finished product. This logo was simply brought in from Google Images. Oops, I'm going to move that around and hit tab. There we go. Now, this was brought into Google Images from Google Images. I want you to look at, well, let's just peek at the engraving again quick. Let's just peek at that engraving. That actually turned out, pretty good. But you can kind of see it's got this pixelated back on it right here. And if I look at this file, what do you know? I've got that pixelated back. And so we can't always just copy and paste images and assume they're going to look really good. We might have to do a little work to them, which means we're going to have to do some tracing, some bitmap tracing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and do a quick, or do an outline trace. And I'm going to start with logo, and we'll see what happens. And I've lost some of the detail on the back, so I definitely want to get that back. I'm going to increase my detail here. And I could go all the way over. There we go. You can see what the smoothing does. Whoa, that's like a Picasso loon. There we go. You can see that changes some of the shape. I kind of like that. And that looks good. Let's click OK. And remember, that makes a copy of the image. So I'm going to move that one out. Now, take a look at the back of that one. Even the little dots are pixelated. And now look at this one. Very clean, vectored outlines. Very smooth, detailed back. Okay. So it takes a little bit of playing around to find the right settings, but that's what we're wanting to use. Originally, the loon was on my 4x6, and I thought, I want to fill in some of that unused space. So I thought, well, what have we done in class? Well, we've done text before, so I could choose an interesting text to look at. But also, I could even use text on a curve. So you can see that this one is, I drew an ellipse, and then I added text to it on a curve. And then, of course, to when it comes time to lasering that, I'm going to want to not engrave that circle. So I just make it no fill, no outline on it. Okay. So we're incorporating some of the things that we've done before with text, and we've incorporating some of the things that we've done before with some of these images. And we're learning how to, engrave on a new material. I can move this out of the way, and this file would be ready to engrave. We'll take a quick peek at the binary battalion. This logo, proportion-wise, it just made more sense to do as a square, like coaster type of shape. I could maybe go portrait if I wanted to change this, go down to -6. Maybe I'm going to add some text in here. And this image, again, a little jaggedy. So I could select this, do some converting here. I'm going to want lots of detail. Okay, there's that one. I'm going to move this one off. This is the one that is not pixelated. All right, so I've got my logo. Everything is very clean. Every vectored outline is nice straight lines. And then I could add text. So if I wanted to, um, maybe put, let's go to my text tool. And if I didn't want to, maybe I didn't want to use, let's see here, I'm going to go to Varsity font, which is the font we use for our team. And then I type in robotics. And I could leave that. Maybe, let's try this. Oh yeah, that looks a little better. Caps. All right. And try fill up the space the best you can. Maybe you want to um, use the pick tool. We could rotate it around. Maybe you want to put it on a curve. That could be something that you want to do. Use some of the tools we've worked on in the past to fill up that space. Save your file to Google Drive, and we will go over using the laser on the wood blocks when you are ready.